Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 29th episode of the Tuesday Night Podcast. I am your host, SBJ, and with me in corner A, I have Alan.
Hey, you had to think about what podcast this was, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, I'm Alan Girding. I'm from Tuesday Night Games, and one half of Two Rooms and a Boom, upcoming World Championship, Russian Roulette. Yeah.
Did you go to Russia to verify the authenticity of your game?
I'd like to say yeah and improv some hilarious joke, but no, I've never been to Russia. I hear beautiful things about Russia, though. Also some badass stuff, like never fight a Russian in the wintertime or something like that. Back me up, Will. Have you heard that?
Well, I have from my friends Napoleon and I believe the Germans in World War II. They both made the same mistake.
And they're good friends of yours.
Well, yes.
They go
I'm
way
always
back.
on the wrong side of history, trust me.
And in corner B, that lovely voice was Will from...
In the B corner.
The B corner, look at that. The joke came full circle here.
Right, from B Team. Very cool. Yeah, Sean's not here. You guys want to know why Sean's not here?
Nah.
No?
Now,
Okay.
Is he in Russia and or China?
Yeah, he's took a trip to Russia. He's making sure the manufacturing of World Championship Russian Roulette is legit. No, he is having a romantic weekend with his special friend. Ow.
Wow.
Is it like 1 year, 2 year, 5 year?
It's probably a 1 year thing. Yeah. I don't think they have an official start date, but it may be a 1 year. I think it was just something where they said, you know what? Let's do something special. And it's kind of cool because what his romantic partner suggested was, hey, let's just block off a time. And I'm not going to tell you what we're doing, but we're getting on an airplane and we're going somewhere. So Sean's on his way to somewhere, which is really inconvenient for me because this is the weekend where I fly down to Dallas for the Kickstarter video.
Do you want to start off?
I hope he's having fun.
Do you want to start off with that just because you brought it up? Transition right into it?
No, because I want to hear about your adventures before we go into these adventures. Because you just spent the weekend, because you weren't here last time, at the Midwestern Great Gaming Convention of 2016. Isn't that what it's called?
Wow.
Kind of.
That's a lot of extra words.
Yeah, the Midwest Gaming Classic in Brookfield, Wisconsin.
Which is your state, right? No, you're in Minnesota.
No, I'm in Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah, you're in Wisconsin.
You can tell by
I'm in Cleveland.
My accent and how I say certain words weird.
Where are you from, Will?
Like, what do you mean by from?
Where are you at? That's what where are you sitting right now?
I am currently sitting in Washington, D.C., your nation's capital.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that. Sweet.
Oh, yeah. I've been a citizen of D.C. for 25 years now.
Wow.
One of those poor folks who has no government representation.
Wait, can you vote? That's probably a really stupid question, but like...
I can vote for president and I can vote for city government positions, but we do not have like a congressperson or senator.
Okay.
So how was it?
How was it? Where to start? Well, it was fine. Like that's what it came down to, and I would measure it from like, what is my time off at work worth for the weekend I had, and if I was to put those two together on a scale, I would say that it was not fine.
Let me paint a little bit of a scenario from my viewpoint for our listeners, because I wanted to be a good friend and I decided, you know what? I wonder what SBJ is doing this weekend. So I texted you and I said, hey, I hope the con is going well, SBJ. And
okay,
this is a group chat.
Can I interrupt for 1 second and just
please.
point out how you have now made me feel like such a shitty friend because I just basically completely ignored Steve for the entire weekend. I was like, dude's at MGC. I don't want to hear about it. Thanks.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we're in a podcast together and you're not in a podcast with him. And we have a lot of common interests. Like, we do a lot of tabletop games together, Will, and you don't really have that much in common with SBJ. Like, you guys don't have anything to talk about. The joke being, of course, that you do have all those things with him. So anyway, I hope the con is going well, SVJ. And here's his response. A mere minute later, it's not, but thank you.
It sounds like me.
Sean chimes in, woo! Shitty con, bro. Enjoy. SBJ responds, let's just say I've been running a daycare all weekend. Sean says, well, don't touch any of the kids. You should be fine. And then I said, that awkward moment when SBJ realizes Pokemon is for children and begins to question his life choices. Maybe we should edit that out because we all love Pokemon. I was just razzing you, so I don't want to piss off the Pokemon lovers.
No, I'm not. It's hard for that to be upsetting since you hear it so much, but yeah. I get
really?
it.
Yeah. I didn't want to be one of those guys because, I mean, come on. If someone criticizes you for Pokemon, there is so many more things someone could criticize me for. So anyway, let's talk about the child daycare. What was that about?
Well, this was my sixth year at Midwest Gaming Classic. The first 2 years, I would say, were super fantastic. The room setup was what I wanted. The flow of people coming in, asking about the podcast, grabbing business cards, selling some buttons, some stickers, some shirts, like making a little bit of scratch. And when I say a little bit of scratch, I mean like $200 for the weekend or something like that. Both weekends, both the first 2 years, absolutely fantastic. We did different things with the room and brought different stuff each year. And year 3 was just a hard time in my life. And so it was...
Whoa, you can't just gloss over that unless you want to.
Which year was year 3?
The year in which you were suffering from...
Well, no, I'm trying to guess. I want to know what year it was so I can place myself in time and space.
Well, he said this is year 6, so you can do the math.
So what, 2013?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to trigger any trauma. I mean, if it's seriously a really bad year for real personal reasons, you don't have to broadcast that over the podcast.
It was more so
you can't drop a bomb like that and walk away. Like, a really hard time in my life. Everyone and their neighbor's pet dog, including yours, is thinking, what was going on in your life, man?
I mean, like, I couldn't invest a lot into that year, and I always remember the pod. It's very easy for me to remember Midwest Gaming Classic because first year were lights on, second year lights off, third year lights on, and that was because I would run strobe lights or something. Fourth year lights off with Nintendo. Fifth year lights off with Nintendo. Sixth year was this year.
Do you mean like you're in a room with the lights literally off? Like there was no lighting the first year there? It was just a pitch black room?
It was... The overhead rooms were off, but we had like Christmas lights going around, and then we had like a strobe light, and then we had just like accent lights at tables.
Oh, cool. So first year, no lights. You mean it was kind of like,
yes.
Like kind of cool stylized lights? Second year, it was just regular lights.
First year lights, second year, no lights.
Oh, okay. My bad. I'm sorry.
So the big thing this year was year 6, they moved us into a different room. And Nintendo and I... sharing a room with Nintendo for the past 2 years because they asked, and I was like, yeah, cool. Like the 2 reps that come, like I know them, they're really cool guys. Obviously they work for Nintendo. Like, why would I say no to sharing a room with them? Even though prior to that, the room was 100% mine. So we realized that us 2 together made the room way too crowded, way too fast. And so we went to the con organizers and we're like, hey, we need a bigger room, and we know you guys can't offer us one because this con has already outgrown the space. It outgrown it like 3 years ago, and there's just no space to put anyone else new or anything like that. We were like, we'll take smaller rooms as long as we both get something, not together, because you can't offer us something bigger. And so they did. They gave me a smaller room, and they actually moved Nintendo into a different room to share with somebody else. which was not originally how it was supposed to go, but whatever. And so
now, when you say Nintendo, do you mean legit Nintendo, like Nintendo's there and they have all of their money in displays, or is it just some type of people say, "Hey, I want to have a Nintendo booth where I sell nothing but Nintendo games"?
It's legit Nintendo. They are Nintendo representatives, and depending on how big your market is, Wisconsin has 2 Nintendo representatives. I think Illinois has 6 Nintendo representatives, and like Minnesota, I think, has 3. So it just depends on your area and your reps. But yeah, they're official Nintendo reps, and they have official Nintendo merch and hardware and stuff. But it's not like
someday Tuesday Night Games will have reps all over the country.
That's right. That's right, Will. We'll go
Dream
on.
big. Dream big, man.
I think though, explaining the story, I don't want to sound long-winded, but I think a lot
Just
of
tell us about the kids, man.
I'm getting there. I think a lot of the times we hear about cons, especially you guys going to cons, but the reason I told a more in-depth story of this on my other podcast, It's Super Effective, was I think that people don't hear how much work or how hard it is to do a convention for your weekend and dedicate that time. And what they almost always hear is, "Oh yeah, the weekend was great, and we made this progress, and we got like these many names for emails, or we sold these many copies, or we handed out." Like there's always like this moving forward type of thing.
Exponential growth.
Buzzword. This year, I felt almost like it was like 2 steps back. It was just not a good weekend. And it wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible. Like, it's not going to be like, I'm never going to Midwest Gaming Classic again. It just like, the weekend was not worth my value in time. And so to get to your text about babysitting, I think this rides along with Pokemon is for kids, because it is. But and this was not the first year, we would have many years where parents would come in. They would go, "Oh, Johnny, you like Pokemon? Awesome. Why don't you stay here? Mommy and Daddy are going to wait in the paintball line for the next tournament for 2 hours. And, if you need us, find us in the pinball. But, if not, well, we'll come back in like 2 hours." And I'm thinking a lot of things. One, you are a terrible parent. Why would you leave your 8-year-old in a room at a convention? Let's not... I don't think that's good parenting.
Do you have any kids that you know of?
What do you mean know of?
Well, I mean, you could have some like.
You could have some kids you don't know of.
Did you make a donation to a sperm bank at any point in time in your life?
Oh, I see, that kind of joke.
Wow.
I was. Let me validate. You're totally right. Like, I will totally validate your experience, because that happened at Origins with 2 Rooms and a Boom a lot, where people would say, "Oh, you're running 2 Rooms and a Boom? Here you go, little Billy and Sally." And we had to kick them out. We said, "All right, it's 9:00, no more kids." And we made that hard, fast rule after year 1, because these kids made it a nightmare. And plenty of people were like, "These kids are bullshit. I'm out of here. Sorry, not going to play with these kids." Because they would do crazy things, like fight for the cards. Some kids were lifting up cards and looking at them before they chose it. "I want to be the president." "Well, no, that's the engineer. I don't want the engineer. Oh, that one's the doctor. That's the president. I'm going to be the president." Anyway, so they would do that kind of stuff, and sucked, man. So that's exactly what I thought. I thought you had a whole room full of different video games, playing different Pokemon games, and these kids were just all over the place, putting all their germs all over your video games.
I mean,
and not leaving.
That is the correct picture you painted. I mean, we had 5, 6 consoles set up to do different things, and the room was smaller, so it's hard for... How do I explain this? Like, the main reason I am there is to advertise my podcast. Obviously, being a very Pokemon-centric podcast, I want to celebrate the great stuff that Pokemon has come out, whether that's something new like Pokken Tournament or something old like Pokemon Snap. And I know that it's the right thing to do to include those, because when somebody walks in the room and their face lights up and they go, "Oh, Pokemon Snap, I haven't played this in 15 years. I know that was the right thing to include in the room. To have a bunch of kids just kind of hogging the station, because when you're 8 years old, you don't know what manners are. And you don't know that, hey, you've been playing like 6 rounds of Pokken Tournament, and like these people are waiting. It might not look like they're waiting because they're adults and they're just being patient for you to take your turn, but like you need to get off the console and there's nowhere else for you to go because the room is full with other people at stations and your parents left you here and they're in the pinball line, but you're not going to make that walk because if I was a kid, to walk from one end of the convention center to the other, it is not an easy trek at all.
Well, I'm super excited that this actually is a good segue into my campaign and topic for the evening called
let's hear it.
Negative Population Growth and the Forced Sterilization of All Americans.
Man, that should be the topic of the episode. I'm totally willing to switch gears and have the topic of the episode be us talk about children and gaming. We could totally do that.
Well, I hate children and I hate gaming, so I can talk extensively about both.
Well, you're on a gaming podcast, a tabletop gaming podcast.
Ooh,
you don't mean that, do you? You don't hate gaming.
Mistake. I love games.
So Alan, let me put the ball in your court. You have had like a bad experience with kids. Not saying that kids are bad, but like you had to lay down a rule. Is there any other con-specific scenarios where you're like, this is a disaster, or this doesn't work, or we need to change this for next year?
Well, all right. I think you're asking me my opinion of kids and gaming, so let's just get into this.
I think this is a good topic, and
it is. How about we just make this the topic of the episode? Let's see, because Captain Chessbeard's nudging me anyways. We're already like 15 minutes almost into this episode.
Episode hijack.
Yeah,
I think that's why people like our show is because we could sit there and say, we play Billionaire Banshee. Should you buy it? Yes. Okay, 30 other podcasts already just said that. But like our 30 other podcasts talking about how conventions can be a nightmare.
Oh, wait, so I can fill that role. I played Dice Masters. Should you buy it? Yes, love it.
All right, well, maybe we'll get to Table Talk later, but let's get into the topic of the episode.
Excuse me, Sam, do you have the time?
But of course, it be topic time.
And let me say, I made some new music or segment intro for this. I'm not sure if you could tell the difference, but when you guys listen to this, you let me know if you heard the difference in the new segment intro for that. But anyway, I like the difference. So does Captain Chessbeard. But kids at conventions. Now, let me start with this disclaimer. I don't hate kids. I do not hate kids, but there are some kids that are really hard to like, and especially if they're not your own or family members, because then you're not allowed to hit them and you're not allowed to basically tell them to F off.
Dark turn real quick.
I know.
That's because kids, for some reason, I mean, kids are assholes. Let's just be like, if you saw an adult doing what children do, you'd be like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Get out of here. Like, you can't just pick up stuff from the table and start throwing it around. This is a booth. We're selling stuff. You just opened up a game that's for sale. Is your parent going to buy that? Your parent's not even here. Okay, all right. You're dressed up like Zelda. That's cute. You're a terror. If you were an adult, we'd be calling security, but now I'm the asshole because I just got to put my smile on and be like, hey, kid, yeah. So what's crazy is, man, let's be specific. I would say 8 years and younger. And I've talked about my nephew before on this podcast, and that's a great time. He comes over and we play some very age appropriate games. In fact, my brother has brought my niece and my nephew over to Origins before, and they got to see me and the booth, and that was amazing. And they were really well behaved, but their parents were there yanking on them, saying like, hey, behave, etc. But when you get a rogue kid that comes around that's 8 years or younger, oh my goodness. It's basically like, all right, here we go. Now, don't get me wrong. Again, sometimes it's an amazing experience. Like, I've played some amazing games of Werewolf and even Two Rooms and of Boom with like a 6-year-old. But there's plenty of other ones that are nightmares.
I was going to say, I've played a game of Werewolf at Gen Con with like a 6 and an 8-year-old, and they were probably some of the best players.
It's amazing. Yeah, a couple of friends have some kids, and one of them even has a form of autism, and it's mild enough that you don't know. In fact, if Sean was on the podcast, he'd actually tell you his experience with this autistic child, and he's older, but it's one of those things you just think like, oh, this kid is acting up. But then his parents had to say like, no, he has autism. But during games of werewolf and whatnot, he's amazing at it. So yeah, they can be amazing. So it all depends on who you get. But I have to admit, there is some prejudice in my heart. And I hate saying that because I hate prejudice. But when I see a kid come around, of course, I try to make the best of the situation. I put on my sales face. Hey, what's up, kid? How you doing? But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh no, this could be, I'm looking around for the parents. Where are they at? Oh man, scary as hell. Scary as hell. But I know specific go-to games that I usually play with kids instead of the regular games. Like, for instance, if you got a kid, you're automatically out playing code names. Like, they're not going to be able to play code names. Tried playing a new game that I made up, Mirror Mage, with a kid. Really nice kid. But at the same time, he just wasn't able to play it because part of the game, Mirror Mage, requires that you mimic someone else's behavior. Kid couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. It was just a fidget all over the place. Man, I sound like Will, doing nothing but complaining about kids.
Yeah, man, you're just like bashing kids left and right. It's a little walking time bombs.
Yeah. All right. You know, while I'm on it, let me just say this. Whew, this is therapy for me, guys. So I'm going to vent this. I don't have any kids that I know of, as I alluded to before with SBJ. And I'm not sure if I ever will have kids. And I'm going to say this, and I don't want you guys to agree with me. And I think some of our listeners will agree with me. But if you're one of those listeners that agree with me, don't verbalize it because you'll be judged. So I'm going to lose a lot of love here. But here's my controversial opinion that I know a lot of other people share with me. But it's about babies.
Oh,
Babies are ugly. I'm sorry. They're ugly. And I don't like to lie. I don't color myself a liar. And it's always awkward because when your friends have babies, you got to see the baby. So you got to come over. Now, I will admit, I've seen some adorable babies. And I'm actually pretty fortunate that my group of gamer friends, for some reason, genetically make adorable babies. But most babies, not that cute. And so it's really awkward when they say, isn't that the cutest baby you've ever seen? And then I have to say things like, that's a baby. Good work, you guys. You made a baby. You did it, guys. Like, yeah, but isn't it the cutest baby? I'm like, whoo. Like I said, good work. Look at this baby go. Like, yeah, but isn't it the cutest baby? Then I have to say, look, don't make this awkward. I mean, don't ask questions you don't want the answer to, man. Come on, back off. Anyway, it's ridiculous. So that's probably why I don't hate kids. I don't hate babies, but I have to admit that there are times where I'm so glad I don't have them.
So do you want to know the secret science behind why babies are so atrocious?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Because as a being, they can literally offend all 5 of your senses almost simultaneously. 1, nobody wants to look at that. They look like alien space creatures. They got no hair on them. They're the wrong size. They're misshapen. 2, they smell bad. I mean, they can make horrible smells come out of themselves, and anybody who's been around a baby knows that they do that frequently. 3, they scream, wail, break your ears. 4, you can't really touch them because then you're going to start having them cry. You touch them the wrong way. You like touch their little shoulder or whatever, and all of a sudden they're screaming and wailing and crying again. Number 5, they throw up in your mouth. It tastes real bad.
Oh gosh. Well, getting a little off topic here with now complaining about babies instead of convention.
Oh man, I'm not sure.
And babies can't play games.
Yeah.
All right, good segue. Sort of like to back it up a bit, prior to babies, for me going to a convention, I don't know how different it is for you and Sean, Alan, but I have probably 4 to 5 totes of stuff I have to bring, and some are totes.
God,
that
could you stop talking about totes?
Totes
this
are
is like the 5th podcast.
very important to my life.
Totes.
Totes are very important. So I have like 4 to 5 totes. 2 of them are already pre-packed from last year. This is the stuff I bring to every con. I packed the totes this year. I have to bring about 3 CRTs. I have to bring this giant pinball arcade cabinet. I brought 2 smaller screens to run Pokken Tournament. All the Ethernet cords, everything else you need, and you lose almost 2 days just packing and setting up and tearing down just in itself. And then the convention itself is 2 days. And for me, with really little to no help, and I have to give a big shout out to my friend Kay, who did help me set up and tear down and everything, and he was there the entire time. But he didn't have to, and I'm not saying I needed help or I was wanting help. It's just like, this is Will's in DC, Travis is in Michigan. Like, this is my podcast. I have to do what I have to do to make it advertised or to be there.
So you're silently blaming me for not coming out. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
But
I knew it was coming.
I took a 4-day vacation, and all 4 days, 100% were dedicated to the convention. And I walked away with not really doing what I set out to do, which was promote my show or my podcast. And people come in, they play Pokemon, they leave, and in past years they would come in, we would talk, they would ask about the show, they would be a little curious, they would ask what I do. I would, I'm selling them a free thing at the end of the day. You like Pokemon, that's why you're in the room. I do this show every week. It's free. You should listen. And if you don't want to, that's cool. But like this year it was come in, Pokemon Snap, cool, and leave. And it was a lot of that. It was a lot of kids, like it does every year, but with a smaller room. It was just frustrating. And that would be almost like Alan and Sean going to Gen Con and, spending all the time getting the booth, like stressing out, making sure their games have arrived and they're ready to sell, and people coming in going, oh my God, Alan, Sean, cool. We're not going to buy anything. See you later. And then they leave with all these copies of their games. Like,
That is what we did for years. We just gave away free wallet games because we didn't have product because we were so late. And Sean kind of dropped a bomb on us lately, on me recently too, because our second edition may not be out in time for Origins, which means at Origins, once again, another convention without product to sell.
Do you need me to draw a bunch of like card sets and stuff for you with my hands?
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. Sorry, I didn't mean to deflate your momentum, SBJ. I sorry. It takes a lot of time. It does. But let's get back on track. Are you and Irene going to have any kids?
Suppose down the line.
Suppose down the line? Cool. I'm not sure if I will. And after hearing you complain about things, I zoned out and thought about, you know what? There were so many awesome kids that would actually hang out and help us sell games because they would want to play games themselves. I remember just at Gen Con, there were these group of kids that were teaching people World Championship Russian Roulette. They were the best advertisements. And I got to remember that because you can get a gold star kid around. It's just that when the bad ones come around and they Godzilla the place, that's just so scarring and memorable. Like, But yeah, there is some good there. Not trying to completely undo everything I said, but I just do want to give props to Peter. I remember his name, Peter.
Fake guns or no fake guns, I'd really advise against having anyone 10 or younger advertising World Championship Russian Roulette.
That's the beauty of it. They loved it.
Conceptually, it's no mousetrap, man.
Yeah, it's no mousetrap.
Will, do you have any experiences with children and games?
I mean, unlike Steve, I do continue to do things like go to Pokemon League and card game leagues, and the words do not want to pass my lips, but I enjoy playing with kids.
It's awesome.
I just like to play, especially like with the kids who like aren't the ones whose parents have been training them to play Pokemon since they were like 4 years old and stuff. Just the kids who come in with a trial deck or whatever, and they're like, I want to try this game. I want to play. I want to have fun. And I'll sit and play with that kid. And even if he's not playing right or whatever, I'll just have fun, intentionally lose and try to have a few laughs. I mean, I like, it's killing me to say it.
What is going on in the world when like Will is the positive one of the podcast and I'm the negative one? This is crazy. What is going on? What crazy pills? Damn it.
Wow. But there's something about like just having those kinds of like fun play interactions with kid. But then of course I'm in control of that situation, right? Because it's a one-on-one. We're playing the game together, so the kid's not going to go nuts. I have had some bad situations where like I've seen kids cheat. And I hate that because I hate cheaters.
You know what else kids do? They put cards in their mouth.
Nah, not my cards. I demand respect.
Okay.
For Midwest Gaming Classic, Alan, they upped their board game scene this year.
Oh, so maybe we will be there in the future, is what you're suggesting.
Well, I think the problem still stands that there's no space.
Not enough space? Damn
And
it.
so they have this huge tent that is connected to the back of the hotel, and they, run heaters into it and they light it and everything. They provide power, and they made it even bigger this year. They fit some more vendors in, but they also, on one end of the tent was a whole wall of board games that you could rent. And I talked about this on 2 episodes ago, that in the front lobby there was a small place where you could rent board games by just giving them your driver's license. They give you a game to check out, and then when you're done you trade back. They did the same thing, except a different, it would have to be a game store or something even bigger in the tent, and there was probably about 20 round tables dedicated to just people playing different games. I saw people playing Mysterium and other games. And
It's a real memorable games.
Yeah. Did you get to play any games?
I didn't know because I was running the room from start to finish. But my friend Mike and I were talking about, we were talking about how you made it seem like I blew you off of oh, I don't want Alan and Sean coming to this, but it was a serious conversation of
No, we took it sincerely. Yeah, we were just messing. I knew that you were coming from a genuine point of view, it's not profitable for Two Rooms and a Boom to be there yet. Plus, we didn't have product to sell. But yeah, we were joking. I don't think you hate me. I mean, that's what I think.
Joke's
You
on
should
you.
hear what he tells me. I know.
Yeah, damn it.
So
So
we were talking there is no space for you guys to even run a game of Two Rooms and a Boom. The only realistic thing would be outside the tent or in the Sheraton courtyard, and it was 32 degrees and rain all weekend, and there's not even a dead empty hallway that you could possibly run that game in. Every hallway is dedicated to something, whether there's a N64 on this side of the wall, or there's somebody trying to sell some Raspberry Pi cabinet on this side of the wall, or slot machines over here, or a pinball machine. Every single space of the convention, the hotel, it's a hotel, is full. And even in the big tent, you're either a vendor, or you're a live band playing in the back, or you're the board game wall with a bunch of round tables, and there's nowhere for a simple 20 group Two Rooms and Boom game to go on.
I want to assure our listeners that we will talk really well about a convention that we've been to, like Board Game Geek Con. We're talked so much great about that, but it sounds like Midwest Gaming Classic. Con is in no danger of us going anytime soon.
Well, and it's not like the con is suffering, or that it's doing poorly, or it's not fun if you go. It's a good time. I think it's worth the price of admission. To me, it's something I look forward to every weekend. And even though that I had a poor year, I know now what I need to do or should do for next year. But the point still stands where that convention has gotten so big that the hotel was too small 3 years ago, and they have the only way they've addressed it was, let's make the tent even bigger, and that's a band-aid for stab wound.
Do you think there's any chance they'll move to another location in the Milwaukee area?
Well, the big thing is it's not in Milwaukee, it's in Brookfield, and Milwaukee has very specific laws and regulations
laws about having game conventions.
Yes, and that was one of the reasons why Gen Con moved out.
But Gen Con wasn't in Milwaukee; it was in Geneva.
It was in Geneva, and then it moved to Milwaukee.
Oh, history, man!
History.
Throwing down.
Oh, speaking of throwing down, I want to hear what games you guys have been playing.
It's time for a table talk.
This is all based upon Captain Chessbeard, am I right?
No, that's fine. I'm not gonna elevator pitch it, but and we've mentioned this game before, and it's not really a board game, but I did play some Jackbox. I squeezed some in on Saturday night after the convention. My friends who came to visit me, we hung out. We went to get dinner, and then we came back, and my house was a disaster and everything. So I was like, I don't want you guys sitting on the floor playing a board game. Let's just sit on the couch. Let's just talk. Let's play Jackbox. It teaches it for you. and yeah, we
Which
played
one did you
Jackbox.
play? Which one did you play?
We played. My favorite is Drawful, where everyone draws something impossible and then other people have to guess what it is. And we also played Fibbage, which is always a good time.
Fibbage is good. Fibbage is really good.
Fibbage
It's
is
basically
really good.
Balderdash, where you put in what you think it is and you get points if people guess it. Yeah. Like it asks you a question and you put in the answer, and yeah, you want people to guess yours. Really good stuff. Cool.
Can I put you on the spot? Is Balderdash, would you take that over Fibbage, or does the TV, iPhone, Android thing like kind of push that aside?
If you have access to both just as easily, yeah, Jackbox TV for sure.
Okay.
But you won't always have that. And basically the thing is, you have to do all of the work of writing it with pencil and paper, shuffling it up, handing it to a reader who's unbiased and reads everyone's answers, so they have to sit out around. Whereas in Jackbox TV, the television's your host and your cards are your smartphone, so it's all instantaneous. Just one round of Balderdash probably equates to half a game of Fibbage. So by the time you've done 2 rounds of Balderdash, you could have already played a whole game of Fibbage. So yeah, Fibbage for sure. Plus, it's hilarious. Balderdash, they have like Balderdash Extreme or Deluxe, I don't recall, but the original Balderdash was just vocabulary terms, and then they moved into like historic dates and also some famous phrases like what do these mean, and came into more trivia stuff. But the original Balderdash was just vocabulary, like what does banal mean, or it was usually more archaic vocabulary terms than that. But yeah,
Cool.
not on the spot at all. Very fair question.
Will, what did you play?
Well, Dice Masters. I did a little friendly draft with Joe over on Saturday out in Annapolis.
Will,
like
what is
Dice
Dice Masters? What
So
is
you've-
that?
You've never played Dice Masters? Or you have, and you just want me to describe it for people who haven't.
I want you to describe it in an elevator within
Oh,
a minute.
I've never been on an elevator before.
You ready for your first elevator pitch on this podcast? Wait, you've never done an elevator pitch on this podcast?
No, I haven't.
I don't
Oh
think,
my
I
goodness.
don't think Will has.
Oh my.
Who do I have to be, or who do I have to pitch to?
You have to be a straight male.
A straight male.
That's
That-
so hard. That's what she said. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, we'll say a straight male fraternity brother trying to convince his frat that they should all be playing Dice Masters. So let's do this, bro.
SBJ, ding me. What's up, dude? You bros, I know you like one thing like I do. I like comic books. I like DC comic books. I like Marvel comic books. And I know some of you nerd bros been out in the back doing that Dungeons and Dragons. Well, I got something we all can enjoy. Somehow one company got access to all that intellectual property, and dudes, they have combined a deck building game, but here's the trick, no deck, it's dice, and a trading card game. And you basically get to bring your own dice and you build your deck over time, or your dice collection. I don't know what you bros want to call it, but it's all good, right? And you get to be superheroes, or you get to be D&D thingamabobs, beholders, and gelatinous cubes and whatnot, and attack each other. And then once you lose 20 life, then the game's over. Whatever. We all go out, have some brewskis, have a good time.
That was almost a minute exactly. That was really good, Will.
It's
You're an
really
elevator
good.
champ.
It's really
This is
good.
really
That's the
good.
elevator pitch. Did you get straight from that? Did you get non-homosexual?
I'm not gonna lie. I still think we could have been something together. Yeah. You're giving me let's enhance this broship a little bit more vibe. Just a little bit less than normal. But
Let's
a little
be
bit.
real. Most dudes get into frats to get a little touchy-feely, right?
I'm not gonna say that. Man, we're not gonna be satisfied until we alienate anyone who could possibly listen to this podcast.
My question, Will, would be how deep are you into the Dice Masters? How much money have you thrown at this?
$12.
That ain't bad.
Oh wait, no, that's true. That's not true. I spent $20 for a starter kit for the D&D starter kit, but I gave that to Joe because he wanted some of the cards from that set. But for the draft, which all you need is like the starter kit dice to do a draft, and the booster packs are $1 each. So for the draft, we just bought 12 packs each. So $12 for a draft. And it was fun. I mean, we did like 2 or 3 hours in the afternoon. So that's why I like it, because it's not that expensive and you can still have a good time without having like super competitive built decks or whatever they call it in Dice Masters. I don't know, because it is dice.
Right.
You know, there are dice. It's not necessarily cards so much.
If you have an addictive personality, would you recommend people stay clear of it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I've heard. I'm not sure if it's still going as strong, but there was even a Bored with Life episode where Chris Bryant was getting hooked and there was someone on the street selling Dice Masters, much like they were selling drugs in the street. It was a short of theirs, all about Dice Masters.
And it's a double trick on you, because when you buy the booster packs, you get 2 cards and 2 dice, one die for each card. But when you're playing the game, each card can hold up to 4 die. So not only do you want to collect the super powerful cards, you want that She-Hulk that can only be blocked by 2 characters, but you also want to get 4 She-Hulk die. So you got to double collect on this thing if you're like really going to get into it.
Wow, genius. Those devious marketers. Marketeers.
I believe it's made by Wizards of the Coast, which is probably how they got all that intellectual property in one place. I mean, how many places can get both DC superheroes and Marvel superheroes in a game where you can actually combine them all?
Wow. Wow.
Sweet.
But still, fun, good times, not that hard to learn.
Cool. Alan, you played a couple. Anything you want to talk about?
Actually, yeah, there's some. I mean, some I've already talked about. Like we played Off Your Rocker again. Played Orleans, which is a heavier Euro game, and played 2 Rooms and a Groom, which is top secret, but I just let the bag out of that. It's an expansion of 2 Rooms and a Boom, obviously, but it's wedding themed. And played a game, That's It, also known as Just the Right Party Game, which was pretty fun. In fact, I could even play that with you guys right now. You guys want to play a quick game?
Sure. Let's do it.
Sure,
Yeah.
I like games.
Yeah! Let's play That's It. Here's the way it goes, gang. I'm going to ask you a question, and that question will have many answers to it. Now, there's 5 questions to a card, and I have one specific answer, and if you say the correct answer, that's it, and you get a token. It's a random token, though, because the tokens could have 1-point value or 5-point value and things in between that. So I will tell you how many points you get for the right answer if you get it, but you only have about 30 seconds. Are you ready for the first of 5 questions? We'll play to the first who gets 3 cards. So you ready for this, gentlemen?
Yeah.
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. First question. As quick as you can, tell me, something in your car controlled by button.
Air conditioner.
Keep going.
The cruise
Horn.
control. Volume.
going.
Windshield wiper.
No, windshield wiper's not a button, dude.
What? Turn signal.
Rear window defroster. Wow. I mean,
AM,
there's a lot of buttons in my
FM,
car.
radio.
2, 1.
CD player.
The answer was Windows.
Oh, I suppose that makes sense.
That's more of a switch than a button, sir.
A sport that is not played on grass. Go.
Basketball. Swimming. Track and field.
Tennis.
Triple jump. I mean, there's lots of
Played on
sports.
Grass.
I'm gay. I don't sport. Hockey.
That's it! Good. I will
Sweet.
randomly grab your token here, and the point value on your token is 5. That's hard to beat, Will. But let's go into the
Nice.
third of 5 questions for
Grab
this
my
card.
token all night, man.
I think our listeners will like this because they'll be shouting out podcasts as we do this. A place that might get crowded on a beautiful day.
The
Park.
subway.
That's it, Steve. I mean, SBJ. Sorry. Forgot your secret identity. I'm going to grab a random token, and you get 1 point. So sorry, SBJ. The fourth of 5 questions. Here it is. Something found at an oasis.
A tree.
Water, palm tree,
A pond. A hippo. A camel.
cactus.
That's it! SBJ, the answer was camel. I'm going to grab a random token for you, and it is 4 points. Oh my, oh my. We're down to the 5th question, and it's tied 5 points to Will and 5 points to SBJ. Something you attach to a tree.
A ribbon, yellow ribbon.
Swing.
Or the
Tire
old-
swing.
It's Mr. Anderson. I'm going to grab a random token, and it won't matter. It's 3 points.
Wait, what was
And
it?
It was a swing. Will,
I
you
said
get
swing.
the first
You
card.
guessed swing. I guessed ribbon,
I said
man.
swing.
Oh, you said swing?
Yeah.
Oh, keep in mind, I can't see your lips moving, gents. So I'm going to put those 3 points over to SBJ, and he stole the win. You get the first card. You guys want to do 2 more cards, or is that a good enough example for you?
I think we should wrap up. I think that scenario alone kind of sells the game.
Because that's the game. That's the game. And then you basically play to however many and however time you want to. And it's very casual. It's a great road trip game. But that's it. It's by Game Right. So it plays between 3, obviously, to however many people. The one problem I will say is once you get a whole bunch of people playing, it's hard for the host who's reading the card to hear who said the correct answer. Because sometimes you'll get, what the fuck, man? I said Windows. Or we both said Windows. And then my response to that, and this is a little house rule, little point to the game is, well, it's not who says the correct answer. It's who says the correct answer that I can hear. So that's the weird thing about it once you get a lot of people playing. But hey, thanks for playing. That's it.
Awesome. Well, let's wrap up here. Alan, where can they find you?
You can find me on this podcast. In last episode, I interviewed Matt Lees. That was a good time. Did you guys like that, by the way? Did either of you guys listen to it?
I
did not like it.
I have like 10 more minutes left.
Of it? Okay.
I didn't like it because he said he wouldn't go on a date with me.
He said he wasn't allowed to. He didn't say
No, he said he probably wasn't allowed to, which is the wishy-washy way of saying that he didn't want to, but he didn't want to have the onus of actually making a firm decision.
Right. Okay, Creeper. So anyways, you can find me on the tweets and Facebook. On Facebook, I'm Alan Girding, ALANGER, Ding, DING. And on the Twitter, I'm at Alan Girding.
And Will, where can they find you?
On Twitter at Wash in the Sink. And am I allowed to pimp other materials?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
I have my new podcast is launched this week, Drive Check. So just do a search for Drive Check on the internet or on the iTunes where you get your podcasts from. It's about Card Fight Vanguard. Even if you don't like Card Fight Vanguard, give it a listen.
I will.
A listen. If you guys have any questions for the show or any feedback at all, you can contact us in 2 ways. You can send us an email over at podcast@tuesdaynightgames.com or you can jump over to Twitter, and the Twitter handle is PlayTKG. Both are acceptable ways. If you like the show, if you didn't like the show, we would love to hear. If you just have any questions, we would love to hear those too. Otherwise, you can follow me on Twitter. It is at Dragging a Lake. And I believe this episode is
Finished.
Finished, 'cause I'm a little kid. And I'm gonna ruin